What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the corner. I hope you have a wonderful day. Many of my viewers had the day off today, so I suspect you may be catching up on Tuesday and Monday's uploads, and that's cool too. I appreciate that you're here. TikTok has been at the center of a lot of debates here, at least in the United States, about its security, about what happens to Americans' data once it hits China. And it's basically been an open secret that the somebody in China is using it to spy on Americans. And now they've actually admitted it. In fact, spying on journalists, among other people. Some heads rolled, but I still suspect TikTok may get banned in the United States. You see, TikTok now admits to spying on United States users as effort to ban app heats up. TikTok is entering a world of pain right now, having just released a damning report about its own employees obtaining the data of U.S. users. Since the report comes at a time when a key cohort of Americans want to ban the app altogether, you should expect TikTok to become a major political talking point as the 2024 election cycle ramps up. On Thursday, ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, released the results of an internal investigation. Yes, ByteDance confirmed 4 of its employees in China scooped up the data of 2 TikTok accounts belonging to United States journalists, and TikTok really wasn't supposed to do that. The report is emboldening high-profile enemies of TikTok, like Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, whose bill to ban TikTok on United States government devices passed in the Senate a little over a week ago. That bill still needs to pass in the House to become a law, but statewide bans of TikTok on government devices have already begun in Texas, North Dakota, Louisiana, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire, Utah, West Virginia, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Tennessee, Alabama, Virginia, Nebraska, and Montana. Whew! Crucially, the report doesn't contain similarly damning details about what was done with the data. Shocking. It likely wasn't printed out, clipped into a dossier, and handed to Winnie the Pooh himself, if that's what you're imagining. It seems instead a handful of ByteDance employees who were on the lookout for internal leakers managed to find the user data and IP addresses of United States reporters in an ultimately thwarted but demonically clever effort to see if ByteDance employees suspected of leaking were ever physically near journalists. Now, to understand how they get that data is TikTok is collecting your geolocation. They then look at the geolocation of journalists and see if those two ever cross over. This isn't TikTok employees reading your DMs, which a lot of people were shocked that Twitter employees had access to DMs. Like, what did you think? Did you think that employees couldn't see that? But this is even more nefarious. They tracked the physical location of journalists to see if it ever intersected the physical location of some of their own employees. Now, that didn't end up happening, and everyone involved in the effort was fired, supposedly. But Hawley and his ilk have made it clear that they imagine TikTok is being used as something much scarier, a spying apparatus for the Chinese Communist Party, as spelled out, to cite in one example, a tweet from Hawley's fellow Republican Senator Ted Cruz, in which he notes TikTok tends to, quote, dodge questions about communists and say, it's clear they're spying on users. Well, of course they are. So is Instagram. So is Facebook. So is YouTube. I mean, define spying on users. You see new posts announcing in-app browser. See what JavaScript commands get injected through an in-app browser. TikTok, when opening any website in their app, injects a tracking code that can monitor all keystrokes, including passwords, and all taps on the screen. Why would TikTok need this data to serve up more dumb white girls dancing to rap music? Right? But this is also an inconvenient truth of all apps, that the way they make money is selling your data. It may be a stretch at this point to say there's any evidence TikTok is part of China's master plan to, I guess, turn Americans communist. Of course, this is a Mashable leftist outlet, by the way. I also don't think that's what their quote-unquote plan is either. But it is simply attaining the data a legitimate scandal in its own right? Absolutely. That's because in 2019, when TikTok was an emerging internet phenomenon, and news coverage about it consistently contained passages that raised concerns about associations with the Chinese government, its U.S. team rolled out some sweeping claims about their data security. The most important of those claims is that United States user data is kept in the United States and does not go to ByteDance's headquarters in China, which we all knew was baloney sausage anyway. The U.S. team may have thought that when they produced that statement, but with Thursday's revelation, the company now admits that wasn't true. And prior reports have intimated that ByteDance cooperates with the Chinese propaganda efforts. At least one of these reports, and for the record, ByteDance denies it, is by Emily Baker White, one of the two journalists ByteDance now admits to having spied on. Another luminary of the anti-TikTok crowd is in the Senate, Marco Rubio, who has introduced a bill just before the latest report that would ban TikTok nationwide. I don't know about doing that. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't care. But if they're going to continue to lie about protecting United States citizens' data and then be shipping it off to China or using it, they're using it to spy on the physical locations of journalists. The fact that they would do that for anybody, okay? The fact that it's journalists is the only reason these are getting written, by the way. Make no mistake about it. Mashable would not care if it was just Joe Blow citizen. They don't care. All these quote-unquote journalists use TikTok. Now, Donald Trump tried to do it unilaterally in 2020, but it was stopped by the courts. In his press release about the bill, Rubio is pretty over the top. We know it answers to the People's Republic of China. There is no more time to waste on meaningless negotiations with the CCP puppet company. Rubio glancingly alludes in his tweet about TikTok to similar practices by U.S.-based platforms. Indeed, U.S.-based social media platforms do cooperate with U.S. intelligence and help spread positive U.S. messages abroad. Moreover, United States intelligence gatherers, in particular the FBI agents, have openly attempted to instantly search and monitor social media posts and use elaborate data mining schemes to gather intelligence about users. At least one study of user behavior on Facebook in particular shows the knowledge of this spying affects users' ability to feel like they can speak freely, a phenomenon called the spiral of silence. If this sounds familiar, it might be because of the similarity to a well-documented self-censorship practice by members of the Chinese media. Banning TikTok, by the way, is very unlikely to result in TikTok simply disappearing. Instead, it will most likely result in ByteDance recouping its losses by selling it to an American ally like Microsoft, which almost happened in 2020. In other words, yes, TikTok is doing some sketchy things with U.S. user data, and it may have the power to do a lot more, but banning TikTok or selling it to the likes of Microsoft, a company with a history of also cooperating with spies, would not stop any social media user from being spied on or influenced by intelligence agencies. Correct. But I suppose if I'm going to get spied on, I'd prefer it be from my government. I don't know. That feels like a cope. That certainly it doesn't feel good to even say that out loud, but it's kind of true, right? What is China doing with this data? I don't know. Certainly they're looking at it all. They're chopping it up in all sorts of ways. Are all those ways evil and nefarious? I don't know. Probably. I don't know. But the only reason, make no mistake, that there's an article in the Washington Post is because they spied on journalists. TikTok Chinese owner fires workers who gather data on journalists. Now, they've been gathering data on citizens around the world for years. Nobody cares about that. It's journalists. ByteDance said its investigation revealed that one former BuzzFeed reporter had been tracked. Forbes reported Thursday that it believed 3 of its journalists who had formerly worked at BuzzFeed News, Emily Baker White, Richard Nevia, and Catherine Schwab, retract an assertion that ByteDance disputed. Of course they were. I don't think there's anything culturally good about TikTok. I could probably say that about most social media, but TikTok in particular seems like it's really, really degrading society. And it's just like, how much of this stuff are we willing to just accept for monies, right? If they want to sell it to some United States company and they want to mine the data, I think I'd prefer that. It's sad. It's like the least of two evils. And understand that what they're admitting is probably only a small portion, a fraction of what is actually collected and has been collected for several years. So consider that when you run TikTok on your phone, or kids have TikTok, you know, how that data is being used. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you leave a like on it and you subscribe down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.